Hi, everybody. Hello, whoever said that loudly. Um, Most people here know this, but Thursday nights I teach one night a week over at the college in Ripley. I teach two classes, both physical science. The first one's a little bit of chemistry, a little bit of physics, quick rough draft of everything. The second one I teach is basically earth science, rocks, astronomy, weather, that kind of thing. Well, when the second of those classes, earth science, we covered, and there is a point to this story, we'll get to it in a minute, we cover erosion. So I thought, okay, I got a nice little video I found on, I think it was Netflix to show everybody. It was about the Dust Bowl. Everybody out west plowed all the plains up, then it didn't rain for a few years, and basically all the ground blew away. Which, I'd seen that in high school history classes. I even think in elementary school, one of our teachers brought in the old TV set with the VCR and wheeled it in and put the VHS tape in and showed it to us. So I thought, okay, everybody's heard of that. I'll show it to everybody. Showed them the 2-hour video, and at the end, there was one person that sat there in the back and said, "Really? That was a thing? That actually happened? They're not making that up?" And I thought, okay, has the whole class not heard of the Dust Bowl? So I did a quick survey of the class, said, who in here actually has heard of this before I showed you this video? And I had 2 people out of about 15 go, "Me." I thought, really? That's kind of a big deal. The whole western part of the U.S. blew away, and you don't know about it? And the first thing I thought of was Hosea 4:6, or at least the words in the verse. I had to actually look up the actual verse number, but first part of that reads, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee." I just thought that was interesting that these people never even heard of the Dust Bowl, and this was right around in this past spring where California was really dry. I was reading all sorts of articles saying another Dust Bowl is about to happen in California, and I was thinking, okay, that's good, except I don't think anybody's heard of the Dust Bowl anymore, so they don't know what you're talking about. So their whole state's about to blow away out there, maybe. And I kind of drew that parallel about, or in this case in Hosea when they wrote this, Israel is in that cycle of get back on track, get off track, get conquered, deliver, and repeat. And this is when they're on the downward end of this, I believe, when what they're talking about here, people are destroyed through lack of knowledge. In this case, worldly example would be the Dust Bowl, and I think the same idea applies here spiritually. And you can see this now even today. There's people out there who have no clue about God, or at least you can try to explain it to them, but it doesn't really just register in their minds. And their lives are, frankly, a downward spiral. I'm not that old. I'm 31. I know people from high school and college that, thanks to Facebook, you know everybody's business, and you can see that every so many months, the spiral, again, down and down. And this is also a warning that comes through into the New Testament, Romans 1:28. "And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind, to those things which are not convenient." That was King James Version. The NIV says about the same thing, but I think in this case the NIV says it a little better. NIV says, "Furthermore, since they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, he gave them over to a depraved mind to do what ought not to be done." And I think really that's one of the biggest problems in society, is why people aren't obeying God. It's just they don't know about it. It doesn't register in their minds as something they need to turn to. Because I've talked to people, and I say, "Why don't you try joining a church?" "Well, I had this bad experience," or well, just people don't know about it really. And you can see that in the news, which I'm not going to get into all the many things you've seen the last year. It's been going on from court rulings to secret videos to people getting hauled off to jail who may not even deserve to be that. But how do we fix this? Us as Christians here, how do we fix this? I've told you there's a problem, which yes, there is. Now, how do we fix it? These are 3 points that I thought of. I'm not saying these are the only 3 points. This is just straight out of Compston right here, 3 points for y'all. So, yeah, some of you got that. First thing we need to do is search the scriptures, basically to make sure that we have a clue about what we're doing, make sure we're doing it right. Acts 17:11, "These were more noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with all readiness of mind, and searched the scriptures daily, whether these things were so." 2 Timothy 2:14-15. I'm going to read just a snippet of that, but it says about the same thing. "Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." And then he kind of goes on a little bit further to warn us about what happens if we get it a little off. But shun profane and vain babblings, for they will increase unto more ungodliness. Now, step one, study up, make sure we know what we're doing. Get that done? Okay, which I'm not one to tell you I'm a good studier. I'm more of a get the work done, go brain dead in front of the TV and fall asleep, then wake up and it's like 3 in the morning and stagger to bed. That's how I operate. I'm not perfect on that, I'll admit that. Next step, you gotta be willing to teach people. You got something great right here. Share it. Mark 16:15, he said unto them, go into all the world, preach the gospel to every creature. 2 Timothy 2:24 says, be apt to preach. And step 3 in Rexland here is you got to be a light to the world, as it says in Matthew 5:16. And I think in some ways this is where sometimes we as Christians, or the whole umbrella of Christianity, whatever church you go to in general, will goes wrong. All the churches, I think, a lot of times, not saying that they got it like we do, but lots of different people I've spoke to who came out of different religious backgrounds. The churches they went to, among other things, did this part wrong. They weren't a light into the world. Because what that means is, when you're a light to the world, is you're impressing everybody to actually want to be a Christian. You're the light, that good impression they have to give. If you're happy no matter what's going on, you always seem to have your cool, you're always doing a good job at work, all those things that make you look like a good person, that impresses everybody to make them want to be like you. Because I've known people who, say, different places I've worked, they're the most vocal person about being a Christian at all, but everybody's always covering for them because they weren't doing their work or doing this or that. Well, they weren't a light to the world because they probably just made all their coworkers mad. I've seen people who said they were Christians, but then you look on Facebook and all the partying pictures, they're further gone than everybody else in the picture. You wasn't a light to the world. You acted just like the world. And that's, in a sense, probably the most important thing is we have to be a light to the world to impress everybody, to make them want to be a Christian. Thank you.